The iPhone X is a great phone that I still use on a daily basis in 2023, and yet I don't think it's worth a £200 price tag that I see it for online. And I'm not saying go out and upgrade your iPhone X if you've already got one. I'm pretty confident that you're going to be able to get another 1 or 2 years out of your iPhone X. What I am saying is, if you're in the market to buy a used iPhone, I don't think that the iPhone X is the best value for money because it's quite weirdly priced. It's £200 and you can buy the 2020 iPhone SE for about 150 quid, or you can buy the iPhone XS or the iPhone XR for about the same price, and both of those phones are slightly newer than the iPhone X. In this video, I'll give you a full overview of how the iPhone X holds up in 2023, and you can decide whether or not you want to go ahead and buy one, but my recommendation would be to only pick one of these up if you can get yourself an absolute bargain. So let's quickly start off with design, and I'm going to be really quick here as I'm sure that you know what an iPhone X looks like. On the front of the device there's a 5.8-inch OLED display, the Face ID sensor and notch, and then on the back there's a glass back for wireless charging and a small camera bump. The iPhone X was the first iPhone to feature the redesign, and it's safe to say that it definitely doesn't look outdated in the slightest, and it's probably going to hold up quite well in terms of design for a few more years. But where I think the iPhone X does start to let itself down is with performance. The iPhone X is powered by the A11 chip and 3GB of RAM. The iPhone X has got the latest version of iOS, which is iOS 16, although it is worth noting that a few of the flagship features of iOS 16 didn't make it to this iPhone, and that includes being able to copy and paste the subject of photos or the live text reading. And I think for most people that this isn't going to be a big deal at all, but it does start to show the limitations of the A11 chip and is possibly indicative of the iPhone X not receiving any further iterations of iOS. The iPhone X is pretty much the oldest iPhone to receive iOS 16, along with the iPhone 8. And I'm not sure how many more versions of iOS this is going to receive. I'm thinking that it's only going to be maybe one more year of iOS with a maximum of 2 years of support. And in terms of performance for the basic tasks, this phone still works pretty well. So I use this as my work phone, and it's great for emails, Teams calls, calling people and texting, etc. But if you do start to use the phone for longer stints, such as gaming, multitasking, or you're a heavier user, then you are going to start to notice this phone struggling more and probably overheating quite a lot. So I did used to use this phone as my main phone, and for me, FaceTiming was the big killer of the iPhone X. Every time I'd have a FaceTime call, the phone felt like it was going to catch on fire in my hands, and it overheated and the screen brightness would dim. So yeah, the iPhone X does start to overheat and struggle with more demanding applications. Ultimately, for the basic tasks, this iPhone does hold up well, and I'm confident if you own an iPhone X, you'll be able to get at least 1 or 2 years of use out of it. However, if you're in the market to buy a used iPhone, the iPhone XR, the XS, and the 2020 SE will all offer better performance for the same or lower price point. So moving on to the camera, and I'll admit I can't actually complain about the camera. So in 2023, this was the best camera that you could find on a phone, and it still holds up well in 2017. It's more than good enough for vlogging, casual photography, and capturing your memories. So the iPhone X has a dual camera setup, a 12 megapixel standard lens and a 12 megapixel telephoto lens. I'll be honest, I don't ever use the telephoto lens just because the photos never look that great. But with the main camera, you can get some really good photos in great lighting. I'd say that it starts to show its age at night and in some more challenging environments, but it's certainly one of the best cameras on a phone for this price point. And again, the 4K 60 video is great for vlogging and capturing your holidays, etc. So I filmed tons with this phone, and I can always look back on the videos thinking that they look great. And even things like the slow motion video looks pretty decent for what it is and is a fun feature to have. So battery life is going to be one of the biggest downsides of the iPhone X in 2023. So when this phone was new, battery life wasn't great and could just about get you through a day if you weren't a heavy user. But now, 5 or 6 years later, the battery is going to be heavily degraded, and the battery health on my particular iPhone is 89%, and I can get a maximum of like 2 hours of screen on time a day. I typically only use this phone for about 30 minutes a day of screen on time, and the rest it's on standby, and even then I still need to charge it every other day. So battery life is going to be one of the biggest limitations of this phone. So if you do buy a used one, you've got to be prepared to change the battery. It's a really expensive repair from Apple, but it is apparently a relatively easy repair to do for yourself, and there's plenty of tutorials online. So to conclude, the iPhone X is a great phone and it's held up pretty well over the past 6 years, but I think it is a bit weirdly priced for £200, and that 200 quid price point just doesn't reflect what you're buying, and it's also bizarre that there are better and newer phones available for cheaper, like the iPhone XR or the iPhone XS. These came out the year after the iPhone X, and yet they're available for the same price as the iPhone X. I don't quite understand why. What I would recommend is subscribing to this channel to be notified when I upload a review of the iPhone XR, XS and 2020 SE, as it's all coming over the next few months. So yeah, thank you very much for watching. You may have noticed that the background has changed a little bit, so I am in the process of moving house at the moment and everything is boxed up just to the left of me. I'm really excited to move, and I should have a pretty good filming studio and space available for making videos. So my plan is to really try and get one video out a week this year, so do subscribe for that. Thanks for watching.